Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Star Mountain Outdoors and Bushcraft. I'm John, I'm the host, and on today's episode I'm going to be not making a knife, but putting together a knife kit from the Pathfinder Knife Shop. Come join me. Okay, here are the knife parts and how they came in the packaging. You can see I ordered maple scales, actually curly maple scales. I ordered the knife, I think it was blank PKS 13 is what they called it or whatever, but it's their drop point design. And then of course a sheath and the pins. And now it's just a matter of putting it together. To do this you need Gorilla Glue, some various clamps. I'm going to use a utility knife because you've got to cut some of the excess glue and that sort of thing off. You need various forms of sandpaper. I'm going to use a wood stain, linseed oil to finish. You need a little bit of glass cleaner, and I'm going to do something that didn't call for in the instructions, but I'm going to put some just real thin spacers just to add a little color into the handle. These are fiber spacers, and that's about it. And lastly, the one thing I forgot to bring out and mention was the blue tape. Alright, let's start out by removing it from its plastic. It has been oiled and covered in just like a light layer of plastic for shipping. And it comes fairly sharp, so you want to be careful of the edge. So I'm going to see about where the scales go. So it's going to be something like that. So I might even want to just put a little scratch in there just to tell me where I need to sand to, because I need to sand this part to help glue up the scales and all that, just rough it up a little bit so the glue adheres better. There we go. So it's got the oil on it to protect the blade. I don't know if you can see that on my finger. To get that oil off, we need to grab a little rag here. It says in the instructions to use glass cleaner to get that oil off. So spray a little Windex on there and then wipe it off up to that line. There we go. And then to protect the blade while I'm working on it and to protect my hands, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the rest of the blade with the blue tape, and I'm going to use my line there to help guide me, and this will protect it through the whole glue up, just right on that line. This will protect the knife when I'm sanding it and all that, and they recommend a couple layers. And I may even put a little cardboard over it too, just to protect it during the clamping processes. There, now I can grab this thing without cutting myself. The next thing I want to do is I want to put these spacers in too. So let's go ahead and cut these to size. I bought a package of 2 from an online knife shop or knife making supply store. And I may want to just cut off some of the edges here that are in the way of me tracing a proper outline of the knife scale onto the spacers. So let's go ahead and do that with the utility knife. And I've been wanting to do this project for a long time, just because I think it'll help me get a greater appreciation of my bushcraft knife. I want to become one with my knife in a way, and I think building one on my own, or at least assembling one, will give me a much greater appreciation of a good quality knife. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace the outline here so that I can cut it out. I think I can cut it out with my utility knife. There's one scale. Oh, I have plenty of material for my next knives here, because this is just one, and I bought 2 of these, so... Okay, I put in a good fresh blade, and the first thing I'm going to do is try to cut these in 2. So that it's easier to cut out the knives. I'm going to do one side, just like cutting drywall, and then come in from the back and cut it. There we go. So let's go ahead and cut this one out. And I'm trying to kind of stay a little bit on the waist side of the line, because I can always sand it down later with the knife. You can hear the birds out chirping this morning. I like working outside. Go over that a little bit more, so I can bend that back and cut it the same way. There we go. Oh geez, I shaved off maybe a little too much there. It's alright, I'm just learning. I can just lightly trace it from the back side now. Cut it through in most places. There we go. Oh, it just snaps off. So then I can just clean it up by shaving it. There we go. That's alright. Okay, this seems to be the hardest side to do, where it's the narrowest. Got the other side. Now it's time to rough up the knife to help it glue together better. So I want a fairly coarse sandpaper. This is 60 grit, and I'm just gonna sand it down like this until basically I get it down to bare metal. This side. I want to sand it right up to that line that I scored in there. Okay. A little more on this side, especially up to that line. So that's roughed up a bit. And we do the same thing with our wood. Rougher surface to hold the glue, that's it. And you want to wipe these surfaces clean with a rag. Now, I don't know about this stuff. Probably have to sand it too, I would imagine. I need to rough off to each side. We'll have to mark the holes where the glue's going to go. But I'm going to have to get, I believe it's an 1/8 inch drill bit and a 1/4 inch drill bit in order to glue these up. And this shave down the edges here so that the edges match up with the edges of this. And I saw on a YouTube video another person that put together this type of knife set, and see that edge right there? He wished that he had shaved that down before he put the knife together, so I'm going to go ahead and take his advice and do that. Now I can see why you wanted to do that. That's actually hard to shave down there, to get that little edge off of there properly. I'm actually going to want to clamp this now in order to get the holes drilled in the right place and to fit them up correctly. Well, I got a hole there, so I can drill now into this directly, because I can see right where it goes. And sand it. There we go. Okay, so now I've got it lined up. Perfect. So those are ready. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is we should sand down the pins a little bit too, just to rough them up for gluing. Let's do kind of a dry fitting here. And I should get a little mallet or something for this, or a little hammer. Okay, so that's going through. Push this through a little bit. And the other side. There we go. There we go. Dry fit achieved. Dry fit is complete. Let's glue it up. I'm probably going to need some pliers to pull these pins out. Nice. Excellent. So line everything up the way we need it. And I need a little bit of spray to activate the glues because this takes water. It says lightly dampen one surface with water. Do not add water to bottle. Spread a thin layer of Gorilla Glue on other surfaces. Clamp objects together for 1-2 hours. There we go. Just need like a drop on each side. I'll need to do both sides of the knife there. And then I need a little something to spread it around with. I can use a little piece of cardboard here, I think. So let's just spread that out evenly. A nice thin coat. There we go. Make sure I get it all covered. And on the knife and these spacers, I'm going to have to do both sides. What was that, Tanner? Okay, let me do the other side of these guys. There we go, just a drop. And now I need a drop on this side too. It's dusty, wipe that off. Just a drop. Okay. That's in there. And there we go. And let's get this other side on. Voila! It is on. Let me get the pins through enough. And now it's time to clamp them. And I can just wrap it with this and clamp it really tight with the C-clamp without damaging the knife. Without damaging the wood, without compacting the wood, you know. There's other kind of clamps that would probably be better than this, but there we go. That's good and tight. Now let's get it on the other side here. I want it right next to the pins. Get it not quite hand tight. I don't want to press it down too much. I can make it pretty tight with just my hands. And let's leave that for 2 hours. Alright folks, I've had this glued up for a couple hours now. Let's take it apart and see how it looks. If I can get this off. There we go. Stuck to it a little bit, but that's okay. So we're going to sand all that down. And I like the way that's looking. Not bad. But the first thing I want to do is scrape this stuff down and get rid of the glue and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to shave it down. And all this does is save me from doing any extra sanding or whatever. And I'm liking the way this is looking. Fiber spacers are pretty good. I did not make it long enough on this side though. It's beginner error. This is my first knife ever. I am not a professional knife maker by any means. Okay, good enough for now. The next step is to see how the pins are sticking up. I need to file those down. So I'm going to go grab a file. Alright, let's knock these pins down, shall we? That one's down. Alright, that one's down. That one's not quite flush. Let's get it flush. See, I could have used wider spacers with this. That would have looked good. And it gives me more opportunity to shape the handle too, I think. So, anyway, just something to think of for next time. That one's rather high. There we go. It's okay if you scratch the wood too, because it's going to get all sanded down and eventually everything will be nice and neat again. Okay, one more pin to go. I can put this in here. That might make it a little easier. There we go. It's flush. Alright, so this is what we have so far. What it looks like close up. You can see there's still a lot of work to go here. But it's going to look great. Alright, so I think this is how I'm going to set it up. That seems pretty firm, and I can go ahead and access the handle well and shape it from here. So now I need to get some sandpaper. I'm going to start out with the coarse 60 grit. There we go. I can see why power tools would be so nice for this. Alright, now I've got the general shape and consistency that I want the knife at. Now I'm going to switch grits to 120 and start shaping it a little more. Okay, occasionally I take it out and just feel it to see if I like the feel of it and see if I like the grip. This isn't bad. I haven't really shaped it down that much. It'd be easier with heavier tools. But I think with the tools that I have, this is going to have to do it. And I can see some scratches in the wood right there. I'm going to have to sand it down a little more right there too with the finer paper, and then go to the finest paper. So I shall continue. But this time I'm not going to bother putting it in a vise. I'm just going to do it by hand so I can see it everywhere. Okay, now it's time for the 320 sandpaper. And again, I'm going to clamp it into the vise. Okay, now it's time to apply some finish. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to just put some walnut stain on it to begin with. And I did wipe this off with a dry rag first. And I'm putting the stain on just to bring out the color of the wood, you know. There we go. Okay, you just want it to soak in for a minute. And then take a clean part of the rag here and wipe it off. And then, of course, let this thoroughly dry out before you dispose of it, or else it can spontaneously combust. It looks old that way, doesn't it? If I keep the patina on it, it'll probably look like an old knife. That might be kind of cool, actually. Sometimes you just make things up as you go along, you know? let it dry for a while before I go to the next step. Okay, here's what the knife looks like finished. Well, not finished, but with the finish on the handle. So you saw me stain it, and then from there, it was getting windy outside, so I didn't film it, but I put just a coat of boiled linseed oil over it to shine it up a bit. And so now I've got to determine what I want to do with the steel finish, and I'm probably just going to lightly sand it with maybe 120 grit first and then 400 grit. Here is my finished project. I just lightly sanded it to get that patina for the knife finish, and then I took a diamond sharpener just to tidy up the blade a little bit, and what happens is it gets a little burr on the edge and you need to just kind of knock that down, and I did that on each side. And then as far as sharpness, ooh, I can hear it shaving the hair off there. So there you have it, folks. Razor sharp, ready for my next bushcraft adventure. I can't wait to test it out. You know, it's for my first knife, it certainly isn't the prettiest job that I ever could have done, but it was a good experience and I'm glad I did it. I think everybody who enjoys bushcraft and using bushcraft knives should have the experience of making one. I certainly enjoyed mine. You can see how thick it is. It's a good strong blade. It'll baton well, and it fits very well into its scabbard. Very tight. It's not coming out of there, and I'm looking forward to using it on the trail. So until next time, this is John with Star Mountain Outdoors and Bushcraft, signing off. Have a good one.